Howdy, welcome back. Today we've got a little project. I'm building a chicken coop out behind the house there. That's kind of a portable setup to where I can pick it up and drag it along. And you're looking out the shop door across the garden at the chicken coop. So anyway, I need to build some latches to hold the doors shut on the nesting boxes. So I'll get my computer all fired up here and get my AutoCAD running, and we'll look at some drawings. So this is AutoCAD version 0 for DOS. Uh, Also, some people call it soapstone on the shop floor. But here we've got, this is material is 1.5 inch hot rolled steel. So it's 1.5 inch wide. I'm going to whack it off in 3-inch pieces. I'm going to step over 1/4 inch, and I'm going to drill and tap for 1024 on 4 corners. Stepped in, and then I'll drill me a clearance hole and a countersink on the 4 corners on 4 pieces. So there'll be a total of 4 sets of these. One of them will be drilled and tapped, one of them have clearance holes and countersinks where it will sandwich on either side of a piece of sheet metal. The center here, 4 of them will be drilled and tapped for 1/4 and 4 of them will be clearance drilled for 1/4. Again, in the center, 1.5 inch down and 3/4 inches over. So I'll get my material chopped off, and we'll go from there. So here's my 8 pieces more or less cut out and roughed out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the edges up and line up one end as much as can be done. These are not really straight or anything, but I'm going to line them up, clamp them, and I'm just going to run me a bead with my little welding machine right down through here on both ends. And when I'm all done, I'll do all my corner rounding over, all my end cleaning up, and then as I'm cleaning up the ends, I'll just grind that little bitty bead off. So I'm not going to worry about, I don't care about if they're all the same length, I don't care if they're all the same anything, because that will be done in the last step. This is all about how do you get it done the fastest. So I'm going to clamp these up, run a bead on there, and we'll be right back. So here I've got my pieces ganged up together and just run a really nasty, ugly bead down the side. Did have a design change. Instead of stepping in 1/4, I stepped in 3/8. I got to looking at that, and I laid one of my screws down on there, and just looked like the edge of the countersink for the screw would be really close to the edge of that. So I made a judgment call and changed my design. I asked the customer first, and they just looked at me stupid. Chickens aren't really particularly smart. So there it is, laid out, center punched as much as I can center punch. I didn't really, this is a latch for a chicken house. This is not a fine Swiss watch. So didn't really pay, didn't spend a lot of time on that. I did put me a series of witness marks on one side. And as long as I've got these all facing the same way and, all got the witness marks, let's say on the top left side, they're all going to match. Within reason. So I'll head over to the drill press and we'll get these drilled. All right, so I've got my 5 holes drilled and tapped to the appropriate size. Came out as good as I guess I would want. And I left them ganged while I tapped them. Now what I'm going to do, since I tapped them all the way through, I have a hard time, especially with a number 10 on something an 1/8 inch thick, getting my tap in there straight on the very first round. It takes me 1 or 2 turns to get my tap in there straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the threads on the 2nd through the 5th piece of this, and I'm going to clearance drill the first part and the last 3 parts. Of course, I'm going to do that after I get it all ground up. But that way I've got nice straight threads in these four. So here's what it looks like when the edges are cleaned up. And like I said at the start, you know, there's 8 pieces ganged up here. And it's a whole lot easier for me to make 1 piece than it is 8. So let's take her out of the vise here. Back the camera up. And there's our 8 pieces. Okay, now we need to throw this one, set that one to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the ones that we're going to save because they've got the best threads. And hot. And these are the ones that need to be drilled on through. And I'll probably just do them one at a time. That's easy enough to do. All I got to do is just follow the hole. I might even do them by hand. I don't know. So I'll get the clearance holes drilled in these and do just a little bit of deburring on the edges, and then we'll be back. All right, next thing we need to do is cut the latch part of this thing. And this is 3/4 by a little, that might be 14 gauge. A little less than 1/8 flat stock. And this is just a regular old pair of cheap bolt cutters. Been so long since I've done this, forgot how to do it. There we go. That makes a nice little score line. Come on, baby, focus. And you can just snap her off right at the score line. So here's our piece all welded up. This is just 3/4 by a little less than 1/8 flat stock. The hole is drilled a little off center. Got a piece of 1/4 inch round stock welded to it for a handle. Tacked it here, flipped it over, tacked it here, and then put some, I guess you would call them little fillets, but on something that small, I don't know that that's a fillet. And this has got to be flat right here, enough for the head of a 1/4 inch bolt to turn. And we also need to bend this up, and this up. And I'm just going to do that cold with a hammer. Okay, so we've got sort of a mock-up here of everything stuck together. Now this is our little T-bar that we just made, and these are our brackets that we made. You know, here's our threaded parts, and here's our through parts. Now, my chicken house, the boxes are made out of 26 gauge sheet metal because, you know, hey, why wouldn't I make it out of 26 gauge sheet metal? And I needed a latch. So this here, I don't know exactly where I got this idea to do this. But anyway, we're going to pretend that this is the door post, basically, of the chicken house. And we're going to pretend that this is the door. Now, in my setup, this door swings up. But here your door sits in there, and the latch latches itself. Now the door won't come open. Now, the advantage to this over just having a bar here that you just turn is that right there. Vibration is not going to cause that bar to turn sideways. The bar is always going to be horizontal unless you pick it up. So I think I saw this maybe the first time on an old package unit. And they had the doors for the access doors had little latches on them. Very simple. It cost practically nothing for them to make them like that. And it was an old package unit, like 25 years old. And the latches were still unbroken. So there you go. Hope y'all learned something. Hope you found it interesting. Don't be afraid to get out in your shop and tear something up. Y'all drive safe. Watch for deer.